Welcome to weekday coronavirus-driven mind stuff. My name is George Ortega, and it is Sunday, June 7th, 2020 at 7:27 p.m. This is episode number 41. And I just finished an hour and a half Zoom meeting. It just ended a minute ago. That was about breath work. So we're like, breathing in, noticing our breath, holding our breath, breathing in and out through our nose, through our mouth. It's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm a lot more relaxed now than when I started. And it was difficult actually because I'm feeling a bit tired today. But it was good. But what it got me to notice also is I think I carry stress in my stomach, the lung area. Down there, I guess above the diaphragm. And so, yeah, I'm thinking maybe I need to do some fast walking or slow jogging or something aerobic that'll perhaps loosen that area. So anyway, I hope you're having a good, you're seeing this on Monday night. Let's see. What do I want to talk about? Yeah, I'm a little tired. I don't really feel like getting into the politics right now. I mean, I may want to in a few minutes. I don't know. But it's let's see. Yeah, I don't have much on my mind, actually. I will talk about, yes, I will talk about something that I did, the reason I'm so tired, or at least one reason. I sent out these, an email to about 400 newspapers, magazines, news magazines, college papers and all. And let me see if I read it for you. Okay, dear editor, following is a letter to the editor and/or story idea. Navigating matters like COVID-19 requires the guidance of experts like trained medical professionals. Navigating other matters doesn't require any special training or understanding. There is a simple way to ensure that people don't die like George Floyd from excessive force while in police custody. As he apparently resisted arrest, 4 police officers subdued Floyd. Once he was properly restrained by the officers, a simple 2-step procedure should have taken place. The first step would have been to cuff his wrists behind his back. The second step would have been to cable tie his ankles together. At that point, Floyd would have been unable to either escape or pose a threat to anyone. At that point, there would have been absolutely no need for further physical force by the officers. Had this simple procedure been done, Floyd would be alive today. Cuff the wrists, cable tie the ankles, let them live. It really is that simple. So why aren't the New York Times, the Washington Post, and other major news organizations advocating for this simple way to finally end tragedies like this one that left Floyd's 6-year-old daughter, Gianna, an orphan? Cuff the wrists, cable tie the ankles, let them live. Protesters around the world should begin chanting this simple slogan and not stop until it becomes the law. Cuff the wrists, cable tie the ankles, let them live should be the law of the land for police officers everywhere in the United States and abroad. All right, so that's basically the message. And I got a couple of responses. Apparently, the UCLA paper seems to want to publish it. I got a message from them asking me to submit a piece and they sent me an email address, but I was just confused as to whether they wanted me to send a new piece or that same letter. And, you know, I started sending these out on Friday night, early Saturday morning, I believe. So hopefully many of them have not been read yet. Again, it was about 400. And I do this easily, because like I had a suggestion that a story idea that I sent them several months ago about how the only way, and I mean only, that we're going to be safe from future pandemics is if we end animal farming, you know, especially the factory farming, but you know, family, you know, the smaller farms too. And naturally, if we want to continue to eat meat, dairy, eggs, we're very fortunate that in 2013, you know, Dr. Mark Post from the Netherlands just basically demonstrated to the world. It was at an event in London, that we can grow this meat in labs. You know, he grew 3 hamburgers actually from with a grant. I think $1 million grant. It cost about $300,000 per burger, 330 or so. And you know, this meat would be far healthier for us because we could like control. For example, it could be made without the unhealthy fats, the trans fats, cholesterol. We could produce the meat. You know, feed the cells, control the cell growth in that way. It's not genetic modification. It's not GMO. It's just a healthier way. Basically, what they do is they trick the cells to believing they're still in the animal's body, and then they just feed it a growth medium. But anyway, so like I had sent, and I still believe that that's an important part of our world right now, and you don't hear about yet. I sent that suggestion again. It must have been a couple of months ago, and that's why I compiled. I went well through these WikiLeaks lists. Wikipedia is a great, you know, internet encyclopedia that often they have pages that list, for example, all the newspapers in the world, all the newspapers in each state, you know, things like that. So yeah, I'm guessing like with the it's called lab grown meat or clean meat or culture meat, with that kind of shift from farming animals to growing meat in a way, and again, the advantage of that is like when you're growing the meat in dairy and eggs in a lab, there's absolutely no chance of pandemic. I mean, like virtually, they're, you know, 99.9% safe, I would imagine. I mean, because otherwise, you know, what they have noticed over the decades is that the number of pandemics keeps increasing. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with factory farming. I think a lot of it from a spiritual level has to do with God. Just God is just fed up with us, just God saying enough. So with this idea about, you know, cuff the wrists, cable tie the ankles and let them live procedure, it's just like, it's common sense. It's common sense. It doesn't require a police expert, you know, it doesn't require, you know, a doctor to know that if they did this, the police officers did this, we would eliminate the kinds of deaths that happen when you know, officers put their knees on Excuse me. I added some water. I'll be right back. All right, so like I paused the video and I thought I paused the timer also, but apparently I didn't. So I think I better like, took me about maybe 30, 40 seconds to refill my glass of water. Anyway, so yes, if to the extent that that's the law, that's the procedure, you know, so many deaths can be avoided in that way. And you know, that's just one step that can and should be taken. There's probably many others, or perhaps not even many. There's probably just several, you know, key steps. All right, well, you know, I am tired. That breath work, it was an hour and a half, you know, focusing on the breath. And, you know, sometimes we have to breathe, you know, sharply in and exhale, you know, deeply and sometimes hold the breath as long as we could. So I'm a little, I feel relaxed, but I'm definitely tired from it. Okay. So again, I'm hoping that like Monday, Tuesday, you know, begin to hear from these newspapers. I mean, like I sent it, you know, they can either publish it as a letter to the editor, or that, you know, the other idea is like, let their reporters, you know, they're trained journalists. I'm not a trained journalist. Take the idea, because I presented it also as a story idea, and let them expand on it. Let them, you know, pose, let's say, the question to some police experts, some, you know, and just make it more detailed. You know, that suggestion was just an overall kind of rhetorical suggestion, but they could really, you know, expand it into. All right. Oh, excuse me. It's like, yeah, it's almost 8 o'clock. I don't think I'm going out anytime soon because I am tired. You know, I was up a lot of the night, got some sleep, but apparently not enough. And I have a feeling you know, this is just a speculation, but I think sometimes some of us are empathic in the sense that like when a lot is going on, like it is now, especially like, you know, just north of New York City, where so much is going on. I mean, like, I think I feel it. I just like, I think on a certain level, and I've been watching the news a bit more than I usually do, which is interesting. It's Sunday night. I don't know what, I think there's news shows at 7. I usually don't watch news on Sunday. I may turn it on. Yeah, this will be done in about 13 minutes. So maybe I'll see if there's an 8 o'clock news show. Probably not. You know, I'm really tired, and there's not much that I have to say. Let me talk about the protests, I guess. Basically, you know, I think what we're looking at is that these protesters, they're for the most part young, and for the most part college aged or older, you know, in their 20s, 30s. And I would imagine a lot of them have been laid off, or if they're college age, you know, school doesn't start until usually mid-August. So I don't think that these protests are going to subside anytime soon, perhaps until they get what they demand. I'm glad I thought to mention this because, you know, there's a lot to this. First of all, you know, in other protests after, you know, killings like this and unnecessary police brutality, you know, people people had ordinary lives. They had their, you know, I mean, what's different now is like people are, for the most part, inside and there's nothing to do, and people are bored, and people, like, you know, are experiencing cabin fever, and they miss being out and miss, you know, getting exercise and all. So from a health and emotional well-being standpoint, these protesters, they go out into the street, they walk 3, 4, 5 miles, because they walked from Harlem to Lower Manhattan, you know, a couple of days ago, and it's a great day for them, you know. They feel so much better doing this than just staying home and watching TV. I don't know. So that's, you know, so basically these protests should continue, perhaps expand, because of this, you know, this distancing, this, you know, this self-isolation we're going through, where you know, we're otherwise with nothing else. There's nothing else to do. I mean, no restaurants, no movies, no concerts. That's another thing. You know, there's, you know, to be outside, there's just nothing else to do. They're opening up businesses tomorrow here in New York State, but not all businesses. You know, just a few. Religious organizations are not going to be open till I think July, mid-July. All right, so that's, but another factor in this is well, again, just this idea that, like, so many people are out of work or not in school, and you know, this will last for with the people in school, and again, so another month at least. And another factor in this is, like, in ordinary times, people aren't dealing with a lot of stress to begin with, or an inordinate amount of stress. In other words, when people are dealing with all the frustrations of not being able to, like, go to restaurants and movies and concerts and events and get together with people, you know, when during a time like this, injustices like what happened to George Floyd are a lot more aggravating, more unacceptable, you know, because people are feeling their own pain a lot more. And when people are feeling their pain, it's much easier for people to feel the pain of others. So we're all feeling the pain, not of just George Floyd's family, but of Black people, minorities in general, who are just discriminated against so much more so than, I mean, this happens, I imagine, to white people also, but it happens predominantly to Black people and Hispanics, you know, minorities here in the United States, and so, you know, our sense of empathy, compassion is awakened by our own pain, by what we're going through, by what, you know, this coronavirus distancing is having us confront for ourselves. I think another major factor is Trump. I mean, the man is insanely dangerous. You know, if he could get away with being a tyrant, with ending our democracy, he would. And if he could get away with killing people, probably a lot of people, he would do that also. And people have that sense about him. The man is just like, he's just deranged. He's just dangerous. And so this is pushback against, you know, not just against him, but against the people who, knowing the kind of person he is, continues to support him and voted him into power. And this is kind of like a civil war we're in. I mean, like, basically, you know, back with the Civil War in the 1850s, 60, whatever that was, 1865, I guess. You know, the South wasn't, you know, wanted to continue enslaving people, and we in the North said no. You know, it's wrong, and you know, you'd have thought that the South would have learned its lesson, about, compassion and the need to treat people well, Black people in this case. But they haven't. They're still racist. I don't know what's wrong with that part of the country. They have serious problems. So like this is the second Civil War, and we need to push back against the kind of mentality, because it spreads, that their mentality of hatred and of abusiveness and of like preying on the weak, on the vulnerable, that spreads to the northern states and other parts of the country. And of course, it's not everyone in the South, but predominantly, the racist incidents predominantly happen in southern states. So we're in the midst of another kind of civil war. It's not military, fortunately, but we really have to subdue that whole region. Just have to bring them to bring them to compassion, just like just defeat them. So yeah, these protests are probably not going to go away. And what I'm interested in is that they will, the organizers will probably get more and more sophisticated, like what happened with Occupy New York City, the Occupy movement. They may start, building tent cities. I mean, in this coronavirus time, that may not be the right strategy, actually. But there are other actions that they can take. And this is like a kind of, it's orderly, peaceful demonstrations, but it is a form of civil disobedience. In other words, like they walk through streets, they tie up traffic, they close down certain areas as they're walking, and it may be necessary. Some other heightened forms of civil disobedience may be necessary. And we'll see as the days and weeks go by, we'll see what progress is made. I mean, so far it's been somewhat symbolic. A few Confederate statues have been taken down in the South. I know that's symbolism is useful. I think Minneapolis has already banned chokeholds. But that has to be just the beginning. These kinds of actions have to happen across the country, and so we'll it's going to be interesting to follow this movement, to see what creative kinds of protests and civil disobediences the organizers come up with. And what's interesting about this, it's not as if it's one central organizing body. There are so many different organizations, activist organizations, political organizations, civil rights organizations that are working together on this, each with their own approach. So yeah, I think that this will be a turning point, again, because in demonstrations in the past that last a week or so, this is already like going on to 2 weeks, and I see no sign of it letting up. As the protests continue, there will be mounting pressure on the politicians, especially Republican politicians, because they are the ones who are holding up the laws. They're the ones who are and actually, no, I'm thinking there are a lot of states where Democrats are in control of the legislature and the governorship. They have the state Senate, the state House of Representatives, and the governor's position. They hold these. So, and I'm going to look into this, because basically, the Republicans are the enemy in this, you know, because they're just so callous, so backward, so barbaric in how they treat people. But we should expect much more from the Democrats. Like in the Democratic states, that's the first sign of you know, that we should see major change. And the cities like New York City. All right, so it's about 1:31 left. I've got to end this early because I don't know. It's 26. I'll go a bit longer, but I don't want to go past 28 minutes. I mean, it's no big deal, whatever. So anyway, so again, you know, catch the show every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock on White Plains Community Media. Channel 76 if you get Optimum, channel 45 if you get Verizon, if you live in some of the surrounding areas. That's also possible. No, it's saying 2723. So like, I mean, like, that's, whatever. It's like, I'm gonna go, yeah, I'm tired. All right, so anyway, I hope you are having a good Sunday, a restful Sunday. And if you're following, you know, what's going on, I hope you're optimistic that good things can happen because of this. Take care, and I'll see you again tomorrow night. Thanks.